Hi guys, my name is Kiminza. I'm a hobbyist woodworker and I picked up woodworking for fun. By day, I'm an advocate. I work in the legal department of an insurance company. So the purpose of today's video is to showcase a camping, picnic, basically off-grid living setup which I did for my trip for the WRC Safari Rally, which was here in Kenya. So the plan was to have a self-sufficient, self-encompassing system which would fit in my car, and it would be modular in such a way that I'd be able to put it together and take it apart in worst case scenario 5 minutes, because my car is everything. I use it to get materials for my hobby, is the car I use to go to work, so I could not have my setup as a permanent setup. I'm going to walk you through my setup and show how everything comes together, how everything looks when it's put together. It's basically a set of, I'd call them 3 boxes, which each has a different functionality, but primarily all of them, the three are storage but in different forms, and one is a cooking area which holds a burner. So I'll just show you how things are set up. Like at present, I have one camping chair, I have a folding table which I also made myself, and I have another folding chair. So I can actually basically carry a few things on top, because what I avoid is covering the whole boot space for the purpose of using my rear view mirror. So I'll actually just take out a few things, then I can show how things now work and how the storage spaces work. So I'll just take off these tie downs, which help to hold things together so that as I'm driving, things don't go falling out. From this perspective, you can actually see now a clear view of the setup. You have box number 1, box number 2, box number 3, box number 4. Box number 1 is, I'll call it the secondary storage, and this box is the primary storage. So the primary storage is where I store my camping gear and all that. There I store some beddings and other stuff. On the other drawer, which once we come for an up close, I'll show it's a pantry where I have 2 drawers where I store basically my main things. I have another drawer in which once I open, I'll show you that it contains my cooking setup, which are a 2-burner system. And so with the setup, there's usually space on the sides where I know you can put other things. But the way my setup is put right now, my spare tire is underneath. But when I'm driving, I usually just take it out and put it behind the front passenger seat for easy access, as well as my toolbox which I put it on the side. Guys, now I'm going to show you how the drawers, the contents of the drawers and how they open and how things go together. So first I'll start off with this drawer, and for which I call it the primary drawer, because as I said, this is primarily a camping setup or an off-road setup. So my primary will be things to do with sleeping and camping. So in this drawer is where I store my few camping gear, because at the moment I don't camp as much. I buy things step by step, so I buy one thing at a time. The drawer opens like that. It's held together with actually slides on 22-inch sliders, because the ideal sliders I would have loved to have are about 36-inch sliders, but I'd have to ship them in from Amazon, and a pair goes for about 10 to 20,000. So I had to work with what is available at the moment, because I had 2 days to put this together. So the sliders on the side, the drawer doesn't open fully, but even if it does not fully extend, there is still space. So I have this is my Camp Master sleeping bag, which is an inflatable bag which goes in there. I have my 12-volt AC car lighter pump. Then I have a 3-man sleeper tent, and I also carry a manual pump just in case the primary one fails, so you don't get stuck that you have a mattress which you can't inflate. So with the space which is contained inside here, you can actually stack up clothes for 3 to 4 days in the minimal space left, because you don't need that much. So that's how the drawer sits, and it's held in by a latch which locks it in, ensuring that it can't pop out. So that's the primary drawer. Then I have, this is the secondary drawer, which I'll open better when we go to the other iteration. But in this, I have my duvet and a bed sheet. But I'm planning on getting a sleeping bag because I realized the duvet is eating up all the space. But if I had a sleeping bag, it would occupy probably about a third of the space, at max, or a quarter of the space. Then I'd have more storage for other things in the event that I'm not traveling alone. Because for my weekend at Naivasha, I'll travel alone. So as I'm showing this part, I know guys are pretty curious as to what these are, and I'll explain them a bit later when we move into the sleeping setup, because right now they look like out of place, but be patient, I'll show you how they work. These are just foldable extensions which now usually extend to form the bed. So I'll explain that. I'll actually explain and demonstrate how they work when you go into the bed setup. My setup basically is, I'll call it, it's a two-way setup in terms of, it actually worked out interestingly. It just came together in the end, being that one side is like the bedroom / storage setup, and the other side is the kitchen setup. And that was actually because of space, because I partitioned this actually partitioned into two, so that it's easy to take in and to take out, as I mentioned earlier. So at the top, I built a small cabinet which has two drawers which act as my pantry. There's a bottom drawer, and the reason it's a bit hard to open is because it's on soft closing sliders, which I think these were 14-inch sliders. So the drawer is I'd say it's you have 306 millimeters of storage deep, and actually it's a square box. It's 306 by 306 mm, so you have 306 mm long and deep, long and wide, and you have 14.5 centimeters or 145 mm deep for the bottom one. The top one is a bit shallower, so it's not bolted down. I'd bolted it from the back, but once it's bolted down, it's pretty stable. So on the top is where I store the small items like spices, have a roll of kitchen towel, I carry my cooking oil in a tub, have some salt, and it has soft closing slides. Once I do that, goes in. Here I have other things like my cutting board, disposable cups, coffee, some fruits. So here's where I store main things: dry foods, all that. Also carry a knife, some eggs, some greens, whatever I need. So basically with this setup I can live off grid for 3 to 4 days if I pack dry foods and some other things. So for the supplies I need constantly, for those I usually shop for them in the nearest town, because as at the moment I do not own a fridge. So but at the point I'll own a fridge, then I will redesign this setup. Most probably it will be, this will have to come out, or I'll have to be traveling with it permanently with the rear right seat folded down. So soft close, they are good because they just lock in, and the best part is, since they have resistance, I do not even need to have latches for them. They hold themselves in easily. Then from there, then I have my burner setup, which is a local burner which I picked up locally. So it just slides out and gets to the end. To ensure it's well supported, have a support, I'll call it a support stick, which has a rubber foot at the bottom which is adjustable, so that if the ground is not level, I can actually adjust it. And it goes into, there's a thread insert hole underneath which has a threaded rod at the end, which I just screw on. I screw on, and that's that. So now I want to cook, I just ensure it's well balanced, and I can cook all my meals here. I have 2 burner system, so I can cook 2 meals at a time. And in future I'll do a proper video on the cooking setup and the burner I have, but for now I'll just do, it's just a walkthrough to show you how things go through. So once I'm done cooking, I usually just turn it off and take out everything I was cooking. I remove my rod, slide it in there, then slide it back in, latch it down, and it's well held in. As it happens with every cooking scenario, there are always risks for fires, and even in a car it's ideal to have a fire suppression system. So I keep my fire extinguisher bolt onto the boot, because this one is very easy of access, because even if anything happens, I just come, take it off, and it just plugs back in. I have my first aid kit, which sits on this side, which usually, with the proper location, usually just sits here and usually has ease of access once this thing is properly set up. But on normal days, usually have it clipped onto the hood, onto the boot, making it easier now to access in case of anything. For cooking, of course, you need pots and pans for cooking. So as right now, as I'm still figuring out the optimal setup, because this is a prototype, I usually store mine in a bag, which I usually put on a dead space, which is in between the cabinets and the outside firewall of the car. So there they are. You just have them in a bag, and I don't carry much. I can carry 2-3 cooking pots and a pan for making some eggs. And that's that. So once I'm done, clean them up, put them in the bag, pop them in, latch this down, I'm good to go. As I've shown the burner before, the burner runs on ethanol, and you get, when you buy it, you get a 2-liter reservoir for carrying your fuel. So I created this partition where now I store this canister, which holds my fuel. So when I'm traveling, I usually ensure that it's full of fuel. So in case the gas or the fuel runs out en route, or while I'm cooking, I just top it up. When I want to set up for the night, if I do plan on sleeping in the car, I usually just unhook the seat, drop it down. Then the top box is held down by 2 5mm hex bolts, which usually just, you take a 5mm hex wrench and loosen them. Then I loosen the other. Once they're a bit loose, they can actually come out by hand like that. So with 2, it helps to avoid shifting, like if I had one in the middle. So to avoid losing the hex nuts, I usually just screw them on here. Just ensure they just grip just a bit. And I have this 1/4-inch piece, which acts as a leveler, because most car trunks, they are not level. They usually slope up as they come towards the inside of the car. So since there's a slope, when I put this here, it does not, if I put it without this, I'd call it flattening support, it would dip lower than the back support. So once I've unlatched it from the bottom cabinet, usually just flip it. Because before I used to carry it out and put it into the driver's seat, it was like, that's a lot of work. So really just flip it around, then slide it towards the front. So once I'd call it my bed, a third of my bed is turned around, really just bring it forward, put it in the back seat, then I adjust it a bit so it sits aligned with the back. Then I usually come just close, and to avoid it shifting, I latch it down. There's a latch on that side, and there's another latch on this side, which ensure that it's held in place, especially if I actually choose to drive with this being here. So once that is set up, I usually just come open and take out my, I'd call it my sleeping gear, which is my duvet and my bed sheet. Then I drop this down, latch it down, then take my duvet to the back. Then I set up this. So this is what I said I had explained earlier. This form the extension, which now forms the platform for the bed, on which this piece usually store on the side, usually comes and goes on top there. So once that is done, this holds enough weight to hold my head and my shoulders in place when I'm sleeping. So once that is done, I usually just come in, lay over my cushions or my mattress or even a sleeping bag, and I sleep inside. If I want more stability, I'll push the driver's seat back, which now holds it, which makes it even more rigid, as you can see. So once I've pitched tent, and I've set up the sleeping compartment. What I usually do is I'll come in from this side, sit, take off my shoes, then from there is when now I come onto the platform. So since that door usually locked, I usually come from this side, and I just turn into it. Now full range of sleeping. So the space inside here is pretty much for one person, because I can actually fully extend my legs and I don't even get to the boat door. I can turn sideways if I want to twist and turn when I'm sleeping. I also turn the other way, and I can even put my knees up. So if I want to use my laptop, I usually just put a pillow here, lean against the rear seat, and I put my laptop on my lap, and I can watch something. So that's the setup with me inside the car, sleeping in the car. So guys, now I'm going to demonstrate how much time it takes to pull out the system out of the car. I'm actually going to do a timer, which I've never done before, and it should take ideally about a minute or two. So, and I start the timer. So first, once I've taken out the Allen bolts from the back, I usually take out the pantry, put it on the side, then take out this side, put it down, and latch the front section. So when they're empty, they're not heavy. So ideally it would be best to take them out when they are empty. But even with the camping gear, they're not heavy. Then I take this, then I pull this. It has taken around 53 seconds. Take it out. So taking them out, it took about 53 seconds. So I'm actually going to time how much time it will take to put them back in. So first I'll just take first this and put it on the side. So now, because I usually store them in this configuration. Then I'll just now from this point, I will do a timer and see how long it takes to put them back in. And the order actually on the video will actually show a timer on one of the corners. So, and we start the timer now. Take that. Slide it in. Take this. Slide it in. Align them. So if I add maybe 10 seconds for tying them down, that puts me at about 40 seconds, 35 to 40 seconds to put it back in. Thanks for staying tuned to the end of the video. Just small clarifications or small pointers. My setup is these 2006 Legacy GT Turbo. So that's my current setup, and primarily my setup is a daily driver. So when I'm driving, I can put my setup in, and when I'm not going for a road trip or a picnic session, I can take it out. So the system is available on order. So if you are interested in ordering one, I'll put links to my Instagram page where you can DM me and we can talk specifics, and I can also give you my contacts. Also, we'll be looking at making it better, because it is a custom project. It's a custom setup. So depending on whichever car it is, we can meet up, look at your car, come up with a design, discuss ideas, then we can give you a quote. So the system is up for sale, not this system, but if you want a custom system, I can build it for you at a reasonable price. I will be making a subsequent video because, as you have seen, the setup is quite rough because it was a prototype and I built it in 2 days. So in a few weeks I'll be making a new video, because I'll tear apart the setup and rebuild it again with now more refinement and more additions. Like I need to figure out water storage and smaller things, the finer details. Things like those are things now I need to figure out, and I'll do a video. And also need to give credits to my man Nick. He's the one who's behind the camera. He's been very generous and volunteered to help me make this video so that I can reach out to guys. So once you see the video, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. I'll have more content flowing on different things, woodworking and other stuff, but there will be a video coming out on an improved setup to show how now it has morphed onto the next step from the prototype stage. Thanks guys for watching. Please remember, like, share, subscribe. Thanks. Cheers.